All right. I'm just gonna let people in as they come in, but as I said, going to cover a process around a referral program, and I'm gonna do it live in front of y'all. I don't have a like actual presentation. I want to kind of walk you through how I think through it so you can see like the exact way I would want to set it up. Because I think that it out of all the things that we kind of work on with people, I think the referral program is the thing that people forget, that it's more than just having it. Like I said a second ago before we started recording, like it's not enough just to have the referral program. We need to make sure that we're communicating the referral program and asking for people to join the referral program in a very specific way. As you've heard me say, I'm sure no one's just sitting there thinking about all their friends that also need new roofs. And we all know this, like we all are we understand that we all are in the very, very, very small minority of people who think about roofs on a normal basis. That said, when we have our referral program, when we kind of communicate and when we put it out there, sometimes we put it out there as if people just have a lot of friends that they know need a new roof. We kind of forget about that fact. And the alternative is we don't forget about the fact, but we just say we have a referral program, and it's kind of just like this hope and a prayer where we're like, this is how it's set up. Like, if you know anyone, just let me know. Like, and you kind of just hope that it's going to happen. But we don't really think through, like, what are the steps that you took, for instance, to get these people to become a client? And how could you find what's that same psychology that got them to reach out to you that could maybe turn one of their friends into reaching out to them or reaching out to you directly because of them? And we need to try to help your clients create that. So my opinion, and you don't have to do this, but I do think it's best because I've shown you kind of what I believe is the like emotional journey of a client. And I'll show you again just for anyone that is watching. We're going to be kind of say that's baseline. Actually, let's clear this out. All right. Let's say this is baseline right here, just right in the middle. So this is good. I'm writing with like my trackpad, so it's going to take a second. This is good. This is bad. And this is emotions. So when they first figure out, dang, I think my roof needs to be replaced, or I think I need to call a roofer, usually they're going to start out right around here. They're not going to be super happy. They're probably going to hover right around here. They're probably going to hover right around here. And then hopefully when they decide, oh, Steven's amazing, or oh, Brian's amazing, or oh, Scott's amazing, or oh, other Brian's amazing, hopefully they're going to kind of get a little more close to up here. We're hovering, and we're going to spend a lot of time like in the not amazing feelings. But this is like right around there. They're like, okay, you're good. Then hopefully you present a good financing option where they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. Or they realize that insurance is going to cover it and they only have to pay the deductible. So hopefully that's like right around when they're getting over here. They're not like excited to get a new roof necessarily, but they're like, oh, this is something I need and it's actually easier than I thought. And they'll continue being right around here. And then they're going to pick out the colors and all that. Install date, going to be good. Then they're feeling good. Then once the roof is torn off, I would say usually that's kind of one of these moments. During the build, they can be a little stressed. Sometimes we'll get all the way down here, but not always. Then once the roof's done, especially if it's done on time, Steven's jumping in and out. Especially if the roof's done on time, they're going to be good, feeling happy. This is like where I would say you have the most opportunity. The time where they will be the least happy, whether it's insurance or not, is when they have to pay the final invoice and like give up the big insurance check, or when they just have to pay the final invoice. So usually that will kind of bring them back down here. Not necessarily bad, but that's when it's like, not a great feeling. And then they kind of just level out. I know that's kind of a sloppy drawing, but the point that I'm making is we want to find where is like a peak in the experience. And that's when we want to ask for referrals and ask for reviews and all of that. Putting your final check and your reviews and your referral question, putting all that in the same moment is potentially dangerous. It doesn't mean that they're going to say no. They're not mad at you. They're not upset, but you're not necessarily catching them on a high. So this is when the build is done. I would say this is the best time to ask for referrals, ask for reviews and all of that. And then even if it's just the next day, collect the check then. I know that can be different for certain people if you have different operations. I don't want to completely like switch up the way you do everything, but I want to kind of present to you my thoughts, because my thought is one of the best things you can do is do a post-build inspection and have that as a formal process, like have that as a formal step within your within like your production process. Like after the roof is complete, you have a post-build inspection. Once that's all good, you cover it, you make sure everyone's happy, then you collect check the next day maybe or something like that. And the reason is because we're trying to maximize how many referrals. If you think that this is going to like, if you have someone where you're nervous about them paying you or you need the check yesterday, maybe this is something where you just like need to collect it right off the bat. But before you even collect the money, I suggest going through these steps. So if you have a post job inspection, you can do this day after or evening of, usually if it's not dark. Stephen, I don't know, you've joined and left like 10 times. Day after or evening of, usually if it's not dark, because you don't really want to do like a final walkthrough when it's dark outside. Here's the steps that I would go through. First thing on the post-job inspection is final walkthrough. And this is where you're going to make sure, like you're going to do a once over, make sure nails are picked up, get final pictures, all the angles. Like you got to nerd out. This is where you pick up any scraps at all. Like you just kind of do this, and then you walk the homeowner around showing all the great things you did during the roof replacement. So this is when where pictures won't do, you hopefully are walking around outside with them, pointing like, oh yeah, so we did the valleys, like we did a closed valley because of this, or we did a woven valley because of this. This is your drip edge, just so you know, like if you ever see it on the line item, like this is going to help make sure that when the water's flowing on the roof, that it drips in the right place. Like I'm not even positive that's we put ice and water here. Actually, let me show you a picture just so you know, like it's reinforced here. That vent right there is right where your attic is. That's going to make sure that like the circulation's kind of at equilibrium. So you're maximizing how much you're maximizing like the efficiency of your attic and making sure of the roof and making sure that your attic isn't getting too hot, etc. Just this is where like you can go over, walk them through everything. We don't need to like go into too much detail. You probably already do this if I had to guess. But this is where, once again, I'm going to say nerd out again. We want to really, really make them think that, right, man, this might be the best roof I've ever put on. Like, get them as excited as they're capable of being about their new roof. Once you've done that, I would do a customer experience questionnaire. Something along those lines. It doesn't have to be someone else doing it. Like we can just ask a few basic questions. And some examples would be, did you feel as though you were well informed after your initial inspection? Did the estimate make sense to you? When the job was like, when you signed the contract, did you have a clear idea of how we scheduled the projects? Like, just make up the questions, etc. These are going to just be basic questions that you're asking just to kind of stack up the yeses. Stack up the yeses. And that's going to be like just all the things that you're pretty sure they're going to be like, yep, yeah, that was great. Yes, that was good. Yes, 5 out of 5. Like, stack up these yeses. Now, final question of that. And the reason I'm doing it separate is because it's important. Customer experience questionnaire. The final one is, if a friend or family member ever needed a new roof, did the experience and workmanship we provided merit you referring us to them? So we're not asking them, do you have someone that you can refer us? You're asking, if you did have someone to refer us, would you? Or did we do a good enough job that you'd be willing to refer us to others? I mean, that would be another way. Did we do a good enough job that you would be willing to refer us to others? That would be like another way of wording it. I think if a friend or family, that's kind of a more formalized way. And we want to be casual with them, but we also want to make sure that like this feels as though this is like feedback that you're really intentionally trying to get. You're not just asking casual questions. You almost need to make them feel as though there's a consequence for an answer not being good. Like, did the estimate make sense to you? If they're like, no, not at all, you almost need to make it seem like there's like a reaction to that within the company. And I mean, ideally there should be, but that's how they need to think about it, because you want them to be knowing that like these are intentional questions. And that vibe should extend to this final question, which is why I want to maybe word it in a more formal way. If yes, move to the next step. If they hesitate, dig in and find out why. If they say no, dig in and find out why. So I'd imagine that if they're a flat out no, you will already have known that. If they hesitate, that might be some things that you need to uncover. And if they're like, yeah, we would definitely refer you, which I would imagine is going to be the answer most of the time, then we're going to just move on. I don't have like necessarily to-dos for if they hesitate or if they say no. If they hesitate, the only thing I would say is like, make sure they know that like this is theoretical. So like, just make sure that they're not answering like or confused because they think that you're asking if they know anyone right now. So that would be like the potential reason that they could maybe just misunderstand what you're asking rather than actually not be willing to give you a referral. So if a friend or family member ever need a new roof, did the experience and workmanship we provided merit you referring us to them? Something like that. Now, if yes, say awesome. Glad to hear it. It might make sense for me to tell you about our referral program then. We want to make sure that if there ever is someone that you know that needs a roof, you not only pass them to us, but get rewarded for doing so. Every qualified appointment that you send us or that comes from you, we will give you $50, and every closed re-roof from one of your referrals, you will get $250. So something like that. And then say, is that something that you would be interested in signing up for? And I'm going to go through like a specific referral strategy or like process that I just talked about with someone that I think is really good. It's not something that you've never necessarily ever heard me talk about, but I think it's a good one. So I'm going to cover it in this. So is that something that you'd be interested in signing up for? Obviously, it doesn't cost you anything to join. Actually, when you sign up, we pay, like, you can get paid up to 100 before you even send us a lead. So we're trying to like, we're marketing, we're selling to them essentially. Like we are trying to hook them in. In this situation, if yes, move to next step. If hesitation, make sure that they understand what you are asking and that it doesn't cost them anything. Also, ask them if they would like to hear more in case it is something they were interested in after hearing how easy it is, how easy it is to make some money. If no, dig in and act confused based on their customer satisfaction answers. You have stacked the yeses, and you can use "you told me." Obviously, when I say you can use the "you told me's," we want to do that in a very nice way. Be like, oh, okay, wow. I'm sorry. I guess I was confused because you mentioned that like you felt like you were well informed, the estimate made sense to you. When we signed the contract, you had a clear idea, and you said you'd be willing to refer us to a friend. So I'm sorry. I think I just got confused. I didn't mean to. And then just kind of wait and see what they say. So we want to get clear on, like, if they're saying no to this, then you really need to understand why, because a lot of the time it's going to be just because they don't really understand what, like, they've lost, you kind of lost them at some point. Not lost their willingness to give you a referral, but lost their understanding of how this stuff is even set up. So ideally, they said yes. Now we're going to say, cool, free money. All right. Or who doesn't like free money? We had someone last week make X dollars in like 3 days. Something like, obviously we want that to be a real number, but early on we like, you could make, you like, if you haven't done this, you can be like, you could make like $300 or $400 like in a few days. So I'm excited to show it to you. So in order to get signed up, I just need to let the office know. So if we could knock this out here, that would be great. To become a referral partner, you need to do one of the following. Post about us on your page and tag us in it. We have a post about us in a neighborhood Facebook group. Leave us a Facebook review. Leave us a video. Leave us a Google review. I'm trying to think. Yeah, let's just leave it at that, just so there's not. I could think of more examples, but let's just leave it at that. So these four options. You actually get $25 for doing any of these, including your entry, and a lot of people, or let's say, and most people just do all four so they can pocket $100 before we even, right, so four so they can pocket $100 off the bat. So real quick, it's a lively crowd today, but the reason that we're trying to get them to do these things, especially posting about you on Facebook and posting about you in a neighborhood group, is because we are trying to, once again, to circle back to what I started with, is we're trying to think about how did they come to you. It was most likely an inbound situation of some sort. And if it wasn't an inbound situation, it was you creating a lot of familiarity with them by being present in their area, and then you communicating with them. And it probably was a pretty warm conversation. In order to help create those types of conversations for you, they need to be able to put your company in a position in front of their networks, in front of people who trust them, because they don't know who needs a new roof, but they probably know someone who needs a new roof. You get what I'm saying? They don't know who it is, but they probably have someone in their network, on their friends list, that do. They probably are part of a neighborhood Facebook group, and it means a lot coming from someone else that a company did a great job. And in that Facebook group, I guarantee you there's multiple people that need a new roof. So we're trying to create situations where they have either a higher position of authority than you do in like the neighborhood Facebook group because they were a consumer instead of the person trying to solicit business, or they have a higher position of authority and already have a higher degree of trust with their audience. And we want to be able to grab onto that and ride that the coattails of that in order to create inbound referrals. And we do want to compensate them for it, but these leads are going to be less expensive than almost anywhere else you could generate them. So these are great leads, even if they close and you know that you're spending this much money, like it is worth it. So just wanted to like kind of circle back and pause. Like that's the reason that we're trying to do it as something like this, is we want to create that situation. In this situation also, we want to tell them the reason that we want you to post on Facebook, on your Facebook, or in the neighborhood group is because we know you don't sit around and talk about roofs at a dinner party. Only I do that. Ha, ha, ha. Same joke. Just do something, bring it in. Ha, ha, ha. We wanted to reward you for putting our brand and your experience with us in front of others, whether it is your friends or neighbors that could also use our services. So communicate that, like make sure they know exactly why it's set up like that. And I would also say that then and there. The other thing you want to say, these are just like notes, noters. So that's one thing. The other thing you want to say is there are a few businesses out there on Facebook with a similar name. So can you go ahead and make sure you find the right one to tag now so I can double check it is the right one. I have a company that I work with, and it's Wabo Roofing Systems. Wabo, as random of a name as it gets. There's other businesses, multiple. When you say at WABO, there's a ton of other businesses that have a similar name. So if your name is less random than Wabo, then you probably are going to be in a situation where there's plenty of other businesses that are going to look like yours, and you do want to make sure that they choose the right one. So this is legit. Another thing, I need to let our office know that you are a part of the program and to get you so that we track your referrals, and also how much we need to get you paid. So if you could just do these things now, it would be a huge help. So these are little things that we need to make sure to kind of add so that we're ensuring that this stuff gets done. Because I'll tell you, if they don't do it pretty much then and there, right when you decide that, right when you talk to them, right when they commit to it, the odds that they're going to do any of this stuff become lower and lower and lower. $25 in 30 seconds sounds great. $25 in 3 days is less exciting. And I'm not saying that it's going to take them 3 days to do it, but if they know, okay, if you say, hey, I'll give you $25 right now if you post on Facebook, someone's like, sure, done. It's like, hey, I'll give you $25 if you post on Facebook just whenever, like over the next couple weeks. They're just going to kind of lose sight of it because $25 or $100, none of it is a big amount of money. It's not a huge amount of money to you. It's not a huge amount of money to them, but the speed that they can get it and the ease with which they can get it, that is where it becomes alluring. So we need to get this stuff to happen ideally on the spot. So this is really like the main things that you want to do. This can get you a ton of Facebook reviews, which a lot of y'all probably are not paying much attention to, which I get. Like, it's hard to figure out all the review platforms. More Google reviews, and then more exposure in these groups. Remember, if we can just generate 3 appointments as a result of every job we're doing. So if you already followed the rest of the stuff that we talk about to do in your process, and then you tie a bow on it with this, you're definitely hedging the odds in your favor that you are going to be able to generate those 3 appointments per project that you finish. And if at the same time you're getting a Google review and a Facebook review, that's fantastic. So this, I think, is really big. Now, do I think that you're going to get piles of leads? Not necessarily. Sometimes I think it's going to go crazy where when you do this, you're going to get 5 to 10 appointments, and it's just going to be kind of crazy, like shockingly, like a lot for just one person at the right time with the right people on Facebook, whatever. And then sometimes they are going to be like, I never use Facebook. Like you can add in next door too. So like sometimes you're going to get a lot, sometimes you're going to get a little, but what we want to do is try to create, in this case, I would not have it go any over 100 for that. But in this case, we want to put a process in place to where we're maximizing the exposure that you can get from the experience that that person had. Now, if you want to add in more things, you could add in a video testimonial. You can add in letting them keep your yard, letting your yard sign stay in their yard for another however much time, like whatever it is. Like, don't get crazy. We don't want to like get, this isn't like a way to cover their deductible. Don't go put outrageous numbers on it. This is truly just a way to generate additional referrals. And we want to be in a situation where we're maximizing the exposure of the work that you already did, that ideally, if you've gotten all the way down to here, was a good experience. And if you can promote that good experience in as many places and as many ways as possible, you should. Another thing you can and should do is post the before and after picture of this house. If you maybe get a picture of them in front of their roof and post that, like these are all things that you can and should do. Maybe you can let them know, if we get any leads from the before and after post, if you've done all these things, that then you will get paid for those as well. Like whatever it is, like figure out a way to do it. Don't be stingy. Know this, your cost per acquisition as a company probably is in the 600 to 1200 range right now. Not always, but that's kind of the average that I've seen. I've seen the lowest cost per acquisitions I've seen as from people who are spending a lot on marketing, but also tracking this as a whole would be probably in the 280 to 300 range. Doing these types of things, getting more referrals, working the areas around the jobs and all of that, that will always lower and lower and lower your cost per acquisition. Because even if you are spending a lot of money on marketing, these things will dilute the fees that you're spending on marketing, so that your overall cost per acquisition is lower and lower and lower. It will make your marketing go further. So these are really important steps. I highly, highly suggest going through this, watching this video again, or just going through the doc that I'll include and creating your own version of it. Figuring out what is the referral program that we either already set up or are going to set up. How are we going to communicate it? And then develop a process like this and then practice it. And I know that's annoying, but practice it. Practice it with someone on your team, your spouse, like whatever you need to do. Practice this to make sure that as you're kind of saying it out loud and communicating it and trying to get it ironed out, that you're not running into things out in the field. You will, but less things out in the field and more things that can be covered and ahead of time. And also, I want y'all to know, like, if this is the difference between half a referral per client and one referral per client, that's huge. Because that's like, if this is the difference between 0.25 referrals per client and then 2 referrals per client, that's even bigger. But the point is, like, these types of strategies, like if you do this and you get this down, and then you dialing in this process can multiply the amount of referrals you would have gotten otherwise, especially with the right referral program, with the right steps, and then communicating it in the right way. I'd expect this to be something that could be a huge lever within your business that you will be able to get more and more and more opportunities from. And doing this over a long period of time, in addition to some of the other stuff that we talk about, this will just be, once again, one other thing within your business that compounds. Turn 1 to 2, those 2 more into 2 more, etc., just to create that snowball effect. So that is the training on a process for scripting, and process and scripting for a referral program. Does anyone have any questions? I know we're all recovering from the holidays, so it's okay if you don't, but I want to make sure that I'm able to answer any questions. If you have any thoughts, if you think that there's a different spin on it that you would like to see, like, just let me know. Otherwise we can.
So I have a question.
Sure.
You were mentioning like the customer satisfaction survey deal at the beginning there. Is there any specific program that you're running to do that? Maybe to send them a link to fill it out, or is this kind of
No,
something you're just
no.
kind of got a notepad and a
We want to
pen?
do this in person. I would suggest
Okay.
like having printed out stuff. I think that a lot of the time, and I get it, it's tempting, but like it becomes so easy to always think like this needs to be a software, this needs to be a software, this needs to be a software. But there's something to being right in front of someone and them seeing you write it down and the intention that comes with that and all of that. Like I highly suggest, like, I'm not saying keep everything paper at all. I do think we need to have good proposals. I think we need to have different things like that. But I also, this is an example of something where like I think, like, I do have a stronger opinion on like this. Actually, I really think should just be a piece of paper, should have a clipboard or something, and you should be filling it out so that they can really see your intention behind it. And then also so they don't, like, you don't want them to get defensive when you ask these questions, and a way to help them not be defensive. And I know that sounds funny. I'm not saying like, I guess on edge or feel like there's a big ask coming. A way to make them not feel like there's some big ask is to make sure that they know this is the same. These are the same questions that everyone gets, not just questions specific to them. Like that does matter. So I would say paper is the short version. Any other questions?
Would snap away pants, would that incentivize anybody potentially?
It's all about when you pull, like when you pull it off. Because if you
Right.
do it at the wrong time, then people are going to just get confused and weirded out. But if you do it at the right time, they're going to be like, it's time to
I
party
mean,
and
then the
send you.
referrals just pour in.
I mean, you don't even
Oh
have
yeah,
to,
baby.
if you put it at the right steps, like the rest of it doesn't even matter. They're just going to come in.
Now, the real question though, I definitely like how you had everything spelled out and stuff. These gonna be posted in the group and stuff then too, the
Absolutely.
notes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
All
going to
right.
include the doc as usual and the training, the recording of the training, and use the doc, but also like, I always encourage you guys to like try to think of what specifically, like what changes would you put on it? What spin would you put on it? Because you guys know your market better. You guys know your customers better. You guys know how you communicate with your customers better. Take the essence of what I'm telling you to do and watch it to make sure you don't miss any of the little steps that are important, but also make sure that you're putting it together in a way that works for you. Because if you try to do it exactly as I do it and that's not natural to you, then you're not going to do it for a long time. If you can put it together in a way that's more natural to you, then you will be able to really like have this like ingrained into what your process is. Brian and Steven, welcome to your first training. I hope it was great. Feel free to give me feedback in Messenger or whatever, or here. But if I unless there's another question we're going to call it early, and everyone stay very safe on New Year's Eve, please. I don't want to hear anything. Don't want to hear anything bad about what could be a great night. Everyone good? All right. I appreciate y'all. We will talk soon, and Happy New Year's. Bye.